That's right, folks. You get no music. No music in this
About to
intro.
say.
No music. You get what you get. You do not deserve to get more than that. Because I have come to ruin wrestling podcasts. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to ruin them. So yes, I am Elliott Serrano, joined yet again by my co-host Mark Allen Fishman of the Unshaven Comics crew, and this is the Torn Quadcast, the show where we talk about sports entertainment, sports, and entertainment. And today is a special edition. We're actually going. Normally, the show lasts about an hour. We're going 2 hours today, folks. And so that means if you're listening on the stick, we're going to drop after an hour. If you want to catch that second hour, you need to watch us on the YouTube page. So go to WRMN Radio on YouTube. You can watch this show in its entirety. If you're like driving around listening on the radio, you can catch us later. But all episodes of the Torn Quadcast are found on the WRMN Radio YouTube page. Just go to the playlist. Although I think our last episode with Rob Schamberger somehow didn't make it into the playlist. So you kind of have to scroll through all the videos to find it. But it's there.
Yes.
All the Torn Quadcast videos are there. So
we trust you.
I will be going in at some point onto the YouTube page and putting show descriptions on all the episodes for SEO purposes and all that. But we're getting kind of a way. I can't remember what we talked about in the first episode. So I'll actually have to go back and rewatch them.
We just need to feed it through AI. Just have ChatGPT watch it and give you a summary.
Yeah, we do have a ChatGPT bot at the station. I never use it though. I know Dennis Sonar, our main guy. He's the chief engineer, program director, all those things. He also hosts the Apolitical Talk Show on weekdays from 4 to 6 p.m. and he does all that stuff. He did this really cool thing 2 weeks ago where he had ChatGPT create a chat room, like what was it with Signal? What was it? The thing,
Signal is the app that Hegseth used.
Yeah, Hegseth used. But what do you call that? A text chain, or what is it? A group
chat?
Text, group chat or group text chain. Well, he did that with the founding fathers. He picked 5 of the founding fathers through ChatGPT and made a group chat with them so that you could ask them questions. And of course, ChatGPT, pretty much aggregates everything that all of the founding fathers have ever said, throughout history. And it was kind of interesting, you could ask, questions about crypto. Who do you think had the strongest opinion about crypto?
Benjamin Franklin?
No, although that would have been cool. It was actually Alexander Hamilton.
Sure.
My name is Alexander Hamilton.
No matter what the question was, Jefferson kept bringing it back to slaves.
I asked about that too. Like, well, how do the founding fathers feel about slavery now? Apparently, they now think it's bad. I'm like, really? They didn't do anything about it back then.
Hey, look, it's okay to feel bad, but sometimes you can't act on it. That's all.
Can't do anything about it. But anyway,
can't.
So yes, the Torn Quadcast here on WRMN Radio, as well as the YouTube page. Although I'm not sure if we're going over the stick tonight. That will depend on whether we're preempted by the White Sox or not. That's another thing, too. Chicago White Sox, we are the home of the White Sox in the Fox River Valley here on WRMN 1410 AM. So if I know as of now, as this is playing on YouTube, the White Sox have either played the Athletics or are still playing the Athletics, or the game got rained out. I don't know. I do not have that ability to peek into the future, especially with weather. But in any case, you are guaranteed to be able to watch this show on the YouTube page, if not on hearing it on the radio.
Sure.
Now, the Torn Quadcast, we tend to talk about a lot of things. We talk about pro wrestling. We talk about the different federations, World Wrestling Entertainment, All Elite Wrestling, Ring of Honor, and so on. Then we get into stuff about comic books and other forms of entertainment. Today, again, special 2-hour edition of the Torn Quadcast, where we're going to be just talking about WrestleMania. Although, well, maybe not just WrestleMania. We're going to be talking about WrestleMania that took place last weekend. I know, Mark, you've written notes about what you felt about the overall event, the matches, stuff like that. I read your night one notes, which were interesting. And I'll talk about that too. But to me, because we're like so much later than everyone, we're not only going to react to WrestleMania, I want to react to the reactions.
Of course. That is the most YouTube thing that we can do. Yes.
Most YouTube thing we do. So why don't we just jump into that, folks? Again, WrestleMania 41, which took place in Las Vegas over the Easter weekend, and was an interesting weekend, to say the least. Lots and lots of hype. There was a lot of stuff going on SmackDown and Raw, following Elimination Chamber, going from Elimination Chamber. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to think about Royal Rumble.
Royal Rumble, yes.
Which led into Elimination Chamber, which then we had all this time leading up to WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. And in previous episodes, we talked about the storytelling and things that were happening. WrestleMania is essentially where you get the payoff to a lot of stuff. Although you would think, mind you, that was the Vince McMahon era. In the Vince McMahon era, there were a couple things that happened at WrestleMania. First, most all storylines were resolved. So it's like when you got to WrestleMania, that was like pretty much the closer on whatever was going on at that time. And WrestleMania almost always had a happy ending. So I wanted to make a joke about happy endings. So I'm not going to do it again. So, but
PG-13 kids, PG-13.
Yes, let's not go into other stuff. So, so it's the Paul Levesque era, and you could tell. I mean, even in interviews leading up to it, Triple H was intimating that the way they're looking at WrestleMania is not so. Yes, a lot of it is. Ending storylines, but also setting up a lot of stuff. And we talked about this before, like what could happen in some particular matches, because if it truly ends here, where does it go from there? Well, they came up with things that were definitely not endings. And there was one thing that happened that you put in your notes, in your predictions. You put in your predictions for WrestleMania. And when it happened, oh my God, I laughed so hard. I laughed and laughed and laughed. Folks, if you don't know what the predictions were, go to the Torn Quadcast Facebook page, where I posted Mark's predictions for WrestleMania 41. And I got to say, you were almost spot on everything. Even when you were just trying to be sarcastic, you were kind of spot on things. They went, they zigged on you in some cases where you thought they were going to zag. But yeah, let's jump in and go. Let's talk about night one of WrestleMania 41. That would have been Saturday.
Yes. Well, before we get into it too deep, I think it's only fair that we acknowledge the stars of both nights of WrestleMania, and I have a list, and I feel like we should call them out.
All right.
I would like to call out and just give the MVP award, if you will, to the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, Snickers, Nissin Foods, Chime, Prime, Fanatics Events, Clash of Clans, Morgan & Morgan, Minute Maid, WWE 2K25. I'm going Drumstick Cone, Slim Jim, V Better, Dude Wipes, SNK's Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves, The General, Cricket
All right.
5G, Xfinity, Doom the Dark
Yeah.
Ages, and
Hold on.
Peacock.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. I sell ads on RMN, and they did none of those folks bought ads. So the fact that you're giving them free ad time, especially Snickers.
I'm doing it because they played such a pivotal role in
Oh
my
yeah.
enjoyment
Well,
of.
you know what? Okay, fine. I have an opinion about that. You're not the only person to get on that. Tommy Else, a friend of the show, a buddy of mine, and who does his own podcast with John G, the other media guy here in Chicago who like wants my title as, geek media, champion.
But it's
But
not him.
no,
It's you.
it's moi. Thank you. Uh, he has the same attitude about advertising as you have, and but he's a purist. He's a professional wrestler. He was a wrestler
Oh yeah.
himself. Yeah.
And suffice to say, snark aside, I don't mind if there's advertising on a PLE or any other WWE event. I will simply say that the amount of it I had to endure to enjoy 2 nights of WrestleMania became too much because every match started with a sponsor ad read. Then you'd get the match, and then following the match, they would throw to a Peacock, if you weren't a VIP subscriber, to a set of 5-minute commercials. And then when you returned, you would have found out that you just missed the hype package for the match you were about to watch. And then on top of those sponsor reads, which also included on screen graphics, it was all over the ring. I mean, all over the ring. And just in some of these cases, even the wrestlers' entrances, which we'll get into. After a while, it became like I wasn't sure if I was watching a wrestling program or an infomercial. And as a marketer, it was the kind of thing where I'm like, I wonder how much that cost that guy. Like, I wonder, like, when Minute Maid showed up and they're like, we need to be associated with wrestling.
Well,
And they're like, congratulations, you get to sponsor the Dominic Mysterio match.
I mean, I'm telling you that. Have you watched a baseball game lately?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Every inning has a sponsor. You have ad reads. You have the guys who are doing the play-by-play do an ad read. You have station breaks. So yeah, I guess I'm so accustomed to it right now, especially like with the Super Bowl is the same thing.
Sure.
You
Well,
know,
the
so
Super Bowl, hey, at least the Super Bowl, like, you could tell that advertisers make an effort to, like, do something kind of special. Some of them do. Like, they produce
yeah,
these bigger, better ads. What I was served was, hey, just run my commercial. And they put it on. No one was doing anything necessarily overtly special for WrestleMania.
yeah.
Or in a few cases, some of the wrestlers show up on the commercials, which great. I hope they get the little extra bump in pay for doing something like that. But yeah, I mean, it to me, what it was is I haven't watched a WWE PLE in a bit, and I just don't remember it having that much advertising.
This one was a lot. No, this one was. I will admit, I was like, wow. But mind you, I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, this is a chance for me to go to the bathroom. This is a chance for me. I'm checking my phone. I was on Threads and Facebook. You saw my posts and all. I was trying to engage. I say, hey, this match is up. What do you think? I got some traction on Threads on some of the matches. So hey, why don't we talk about those matches?
Yeah. I said we'll start off then. Night one. Kickoff was Jey Uso versus Gunther for the Raw World Championship, which is what I'm calling it. Their monikers are too hard to memorize. So this is the Raw World Championship belt.
And not to get ahead of ourselves, but it might end up being the only championship belt. But yeah.
Fingers crossed. You know what I'll do? I'll just read off my rating and my end of match, and then we can kind of go back up if there's anything that makes sense there. But I was going to say this for me got a 1 out of 5. And I say congrats, Jay. Paper champ who will/should drop it immediately. I need more story here. He beat the odds, but did nothing new to earn the win. This was a TV match at best. Jimmy coming out for the hug was good, don't get me wrong, but this was a C+ student being put on the honor roll for no damn reason.
I just kept thinking about the Gunther Damian Priest match, which was more brutal. And I think Damian Priest and Gunther just matched up better. And I could see that Jimmy Uso was trying to like match Gunther for physicality because he was doing like the power bomb on Gunther and he was doing the slaps on Gunther. But you're right, it never. I kept waiting for that moment because Gunther is able. I mean, he's very good at elevating his opponent.
He is, and there was definitely something weird, like just the energy of the match being the opener. It was so low energy. It started with Jimmy literally sitting on the bottom turnbuckle, being pensive, and I get that where they were trying to start this, like, I'm gonna outthink him. I know that he's a better wrestler, but I'm gonna. And to me, that was the wrong note. The way Jay could have won me over in this match would have been to basically throw all 8 moves he knows at Gunther on repeat until Gunther broke. Like, I really wanted to see 800 super kicks. I wanted to see 15,000 shoulder tackles and grabbing the head and just throwing his body at him. And I really felt like we got a TV match. And then, of all things, it ends with a sleeper and Gunther, of all wrestlers, tapping out. Like, it was the weird. And again, like, we can just kind of roll off into where this goes, right? Specifically for Gunther. In order to get his heat back on the Raw after WrestleMania, he had to choke out Pat McAfee, which in my mind makes him only the greatest wrestler alive.
I was going to say, I even said that on social media. I go, Gunther choking Pat McAfee is the least heel thing he could do. If anything, that's like, wait, Gunther's turning face now? Well, what's going on here?
Seriously.
But
the whole thing was...
you're right. To your point, and you know what? And the crowd felt the same way. The crowd was not going for it. After Jimmy Uso did his entrance into the yeet, it's like everything went dead after that. I mean, I don't remember any "This is awesome" chants. It was just, them doing a thing. It was kind of a slow burn. I was expecting it to get really brutal. I was expecting maybe a little blood, in the beginning, but no.
Anything.
Yeah, and yeah, you're right.
I would have taken, honestly, like, of all people, I love catch as catch can wrestling, on the mat wrestling. It's why I like Gunther so much. Is that, like, hey, like, let's actually get a wrestling match out of these two and make the story be main event Jey Uso wins the match because of athletic prowess. And, the fan reaction, and you can say if there's reaction to the reaction here, but, it's sort of like everyone sort of agrees, okay, well, Jay, you got this catchphrase over, and here's your Scooby snack for selling a bunch of merch. It has nothing to do with what he's doing in the ring.
Well, we'll see how long he lasts as champion. I mean, I think, how long did Damian Priest have the belt? Was it even a year?
Yeah.
It wasn't a year. It was like maybe 3-4 months, something like that.
Something like that. And the thing is, like, I mean, if you compare matches too, Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre, I mean, those guys really went at it and had a much better match with a much better story. I think that's probably quality of the performer. And I'm not even a Damian Priest fan. And I think that this is just a case where, we need to see something. We need to see something quick. And it's interesting with what's going on in the quasi main event Raw scene with CM Punk and Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins and all these other things happening, which we'll get into. No one is standing out yet as saying, I will be your first challenger. Somebody mentioned there was like the tiniest lingering of Sami Zayn eyeballing, which could have just been the camera not cutting right. But, like, let's all quickly do the math on that. Bro, I love you. Give me this shot. And then Sammy will still just do the honors to get Uso over because he's that kind of guy.
Possible.
Yeah.
So anyway, you gave it 1 star. I mean, I thought it was I gave it out of 5. I think I gave it 2.5. I mean, it was Was it stellar? Was I, blown away? Not really. Although, mind you, expectations were high for this particular match. And I know a lot of people on social media were really unimpressed with it. But it did set up Gunther for some other stuff going down the line.
It's interesting to say. And the way I did my star system, so to speak, is bell to bell. Everything in the presentation counts. That includes commentary, because commentary can lend to the story. And in this case, it might have been a 2-star match, but a couple of blown calls were so bad that it did make the match worse, in my opinion.
Okay. All right.
Shall we move on?
Next match was
New Day versus the Clash of Clans Raiders.
Yes. All right. What rating did you give that?
That got a 1.5 out of 5 from me.
Really?
As I'd say, better spots than Jay and Gunther, but several massive botches, poor in-ring storytelling, no involvement from Big E when the story begged for it, and there's a reason Jericho quits WWE when he's given this spot on the card.
Okay. I mean, I will say, yes, I will agree with you about the botch spots, but I on the other side, after what was kind of a pretty much by the numbers Uso Gunther match that didn't really impress as much, the New Day and the War Raiders were trying to, they were trying to impress.
There were a couple of big spots, yes.
They were doing some things I was like, ooh, and especially the War Raiders, who more and more I see them, the more and more I appreciate them. I think the problem with the War Raiders is that we don't get to see enough of the characters. I mean, they went from being like these Viking types to now biker types, and now they're kind of like, a mix between the two.
Well, I'll tell you what, here's my big gripe about that. They came out, this is the second match, and first of all, New Day came out. They had some Attack on Titan inspired gear. I'm a big fan when wrestlers like change up their gear for WrestleMania and they have cool entrances and stuff. And the New Day came out. They soaked in the heel heat. It was great. The War Raiders come out, and my first note is, are they Lego guys? I don't know what I'm looking at, because they had adopted this new motorcycle look and something a little bit more badass. And
Minecraft.
You're right. It turns out to be Clash of Clans or something, because I had to listen to Pat McAfee explain several different champions to Michael Cole. And that dilutes their brand. Now, I know in this case they are the baby faces de facto, but when you are supposed to be a badass, we can get away with saying that word, right?
Yes.
When you are that kind of good guy, like I would say on the same spectrum of a Stone Cold, of a Rock, where you are not doing the cheeky thing, to come out in Duplo armor, it really took me away from it. It was awful. And then on top of that, really quick, New Day forgot they were heels until the end.
Well, I did too. All right, folks, we're going to take a break. When we come back, there's plenty more to go. This is Elliott Serrano and Mark Fishman on the Torrent Quadcast here on the WRMN Radio and the WRMN Radio YouTube page. We'll be right back. And folks, we are back. This is Elliott Serrano and Mark Fishman here on WRMN Radio and on the YouTube page. Welcome again to the Torn Quadcast. We are talking about WrestleMania 41, which just took place over the Easter weekend. We want to talk about all the matches or the 2 nights, and the way at the pace we're going right now, I don't know if we're going to get there. So
we'll get there.
We'll get there. So anyway, we just left off with the New Day. You gave the match how many? What did you rate it again?
A bitter 1.5 out of 5.
1.5. I'm a little more generous than you. I'm also giving this one a 2.5 out of 5. Because again, it looked like the New Day and the War Raiders were doing a little more as far as in-match effort and spots. Yes, they weren't the only ones who blew spots. I mean, there were a lot of botched spots the first night.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that plenty here on this night. But yeah, I mean, overall, look, I think both of us kind of mark out for the New Day being bad guys. They deserve the win.
And the War Raiders were not the only wrestlers who have issues with their outfits getting into the ring. I mean, at one point, I guess they tried getting in, and one of the shoulder things got caught on the ropes, and the camera quickly, cut away to somewhere else. So, you don't want the War Raiders looking like dummies trying to get into the ring with, again, their Duplo armor.
I mean, honestly, it would have been just fine. All right, the next match on the card was the bitter feud ender, Jade Cargill versus Naomi. Just a quick shout out of all the weird, cool extra intros that we get. Jade Cargill gets my MVP award for the stupid forecast guy. I love that level of dumb. That was pretty cool.
But still, no one has been lobbying as hard and trying to manifest as hard as Jade Cargill to be cast as Storm in the next X-Men movie. And can I tell you something? I'd give it to her, because here's my thing. I'm watching this match between her and Naomi, and I'm going to give them props. Naomi being more experienced. I mean, Jade Cargill was coming off as less experienced. I mean, Naomi kind of had to really work with her on some bits, and really, Jade was trying to do some cool spots that also not quite botched, but weren't quite going over to feel like it was obvious that Naomi was working with her to help the spots go over.
100%. Yeah, and
I didn't care, because Jade Cargill, first, she's an impressive personality. She's effing gorgeous. I would pay to watch her, freaking eat an ice cream cone. I don't care. I don't,
yeah, but if you've seen her, she's never had an ice cream cone in her life.
No, she hasn't. I know.
No, here's the thing, and I 100% agree with you on this one, and we can make this one quick. Naomi carried this match. She did exactly what she was supposed to. What Jade has, and I've been following her since AEW, and it hasn't changed. She is green as grass, but everybody sees that she is a professional athlete behind the scenes. She's picking this up at a quicker pace than most, and when she gets it right, she is an absolute superstar. She's done some spots in that match that she landed on her own. She caught Naomi several times because she has the strength to take that momentum and stop it in its tracks. Aside from a couple wardrobe malfunctions on her part, just some of the weird way they put together her outfit, which was really stunning until it moved.
Yeah, and then she's like correcting it herself while she's in there, and I felt bad, because I'm like, oh man, you do not want a Janet Jackson situation happening. During the match.
Right? Yeah, right. So I mean, overall, it was a good match. I'm glad it's over. I think the feud ended the way it wanted to, and everyone, I think, looks better for it. So double thumbs up. Good match. Good way to get the crowd into it, and credit where it's due. Thank you, Triple H, for putting on a female match, multiple on your card, and this one's nice and early so we can stretch things out. So,
but people liked this one. They got into it. And this was I was kind of surprised that on the first night the women's matches were going over better than the men's matches. But
they worked for it. By the way, I gave it 2.5 stars, like middle of the road. It was good. Like nothing amazing, but it was there.
Yeah, you and I, same page.
Quick shout out, double thumbs down. SummerSlam is also now 2 nights coming up. So
But I mean, I will say this. I just speak as an advocate for the wrestlers. If it makes more opportunities to be on a PLE and get a paycheck, I'm not gonna
I will
begrudge
never
them that.
discount them getting a paycheck. I'm just saying, as a
Yeah.
fan, I'm already exhausted.
Yeah, no, it is. It's getting to be a bit much, and it's like someone did ask the question about that at one of the post PLE press conferences. Like, when are the other PLEs going to turn into 2-night ones? Like, when is Elimination Chamber going to be 2 nights? When is Royal Rumble going to be 2 nights? Stuff like that. So that Triple H did not rule it out straight up. He's like, we'll have to wait and see how it goes. But I would see SummerSlam, because SummerSlam has turned. Oh no, I'm sorry. Survivor Series too. Because what are the big ones? It's WrestleMania.
It's WrestleMania, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam.
Right. SummerSlam.
Those are your big four. If all of those become 2-day affairs, I mean, yes, I know TKO is licking their chops at the sponsorship opportunity.
Yeah.
So,
and then you'll have even more ads.
Yeah, I can't wait. Next up in the night, speaking of, LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu for the US Championship. Jacob Fatu, by the way, coming out with his new mask, available right now on wish.com. Just go ahead and put that one in.
Man.
Just put in balsa wood werewolf mask.
It was a cool mask. It was a cool mask. I mean,
I will pat myself on the back for this evil dig. LA Knight is so old he had to be driven to his ring entrance.
Someone did say, why wasn't a celebrity the person who
that was me. That's my note.
Right? Yeah.
I was like, here you have this amazing opportunity for an NXT star, anybody else on the roster who could have driven him. And by the way, I was going to save this, but I'm just putting it out here right now. Double shame on you, WWE, for copy and pasting this exact entrance for Charlotte Flair.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I get it. Like, cool conveyance to the ring, but don't put two of them on the same night.
Yeah.
Anyway, as far as the match goes,
well, at least the car didn't run into the sidewall, the barricade, and hit somebody. But anyway, that's night 2.
That's night 2. We have so far to go. All I'm going to say here, overall, is it got a 3 out of 5. Like, by this point, I was starting to see that they were working hard. Congrats, Jacob Fatu needed this to take that next step up, and he told a good story. He doubled up on all of his spots against Knight to win. Haku coming out was a nice nod as well to his heritage. Same vibes. LA is clearly still over, but I have a feeling he's going to be marching down the card. Yeah.
Ouch. I see LA Knight at some point being in the Intercontinental conversation for the Intercontinental.
He's a great workhorse. I'm not taking any more digs. The guy has well earned that spot. But like we said, Jacob Fatu needed something to like take his card, and now he's got that belt to defend. He can probably hold that for months and months, and like make some names and start creating some baby faces in the mid card.
And the crowd, he is over. The crowd loved him, and then when he won it, people were going bonkers. They went, they went. So what'd you rate?
And I gave it 3 out of 5. And I'd say like shout out to Tongaloa, who apparently is injured. I actually hope that they bring him even just to be a hype man. Yeah,
that's been it's a shame that we haven't seen small solos on a break, and the other brothers are like off somewhere. So
right,
but yes, Jacob Fatu really good. I saw some of his posts on social media, his post match stuff where he's out of character. And talking about it, which is really, really cool to me.
That dude is smarter than you'd think, because he knows exactly what he's doing with that, and he's got all the he's picking up pretty well. And I think that it's safe to say that if he continues on this arc, that he can hold the same spot as Roman when Roman wants to step down, depending on age and a few other things. But he's got that X factor, and he's got chops in the ring. So after this was El Grande Americano versus subbing in for Rey Mysterio, Rey Fenix, which, by the way, is pronounced Fenix.
Well, he said Phoenix.
Yeah, he does now, because that's what WWE made it, because it's too hard to pronounce the name.
Fenix.
Yeah.
Rey Fenix.
Right. But anyway,
I can't tell you something, and we had this conversation. It's unfortunate. I mean, this happens right after the announcement that WWE has acquired Triple A, the
see,
Triple A, the Lucha. I want to say the oldest luchador, lucha organization in wrestling. I mean, I
AAA
remember.
is to Mexico as WWE is to
Yeah,
America.
I remember watching AAA matches as a kid. On a Channel 44, Spanish station.
See,
And they even had one of the other founding members of AAA at ringside during the whole thing. But yes, to have Ray Phoenix. Well, here's my thing. You made the prediction that if it was Rey Mysterio, this is before Rey Mysterio was out, that Rey Mysterio was going to win. But then Rey Fenix is subbed, and then I was going, I think Chad Gable, El Grande Americano, will win.
it makes sense for the sake of the story that they keep this going, albeit. See, this is where the thing, they booked themselves into a corner, and this is what sucks because Fenix literally just started like a week and a half ago, and he, like Penta, got over with the crowd. I mean, he's already over because he does amazing things in the ring that it's second to none, and I would even say better than some of the things that even Rey Mysterio would have pulled. And the fact that he had to come into this match and he does have to put over Chad for the sake of the story, it's not going to lessen things in the long run, but just as like a fan of the guy, you're like, man, I don't want you to have to look up at the lights for this obvious, like Kurt Angle did the same thing when he feuded with Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
And
well, he wasn't looking up at the lights. His face was flat on the mat when he finally
right.
took that. You're right. And two, I guess I will talk later on about how really the wins and losses really don't matter as much. You said it though. I'm going to give Rey Fenix his due. The dude literally was told like 2 nights before.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine what it would be like. It's like you just show up, your company's just been bought, and it's like, oh wait, it's the biggest pay-per-view of the year. We need you to go in and sub for Rey Mysterio. And they don't get Dragon Lee. They don't get anyone from the LWO. They don't get anyone else that's been there or anyone who's even worked with Chad Gable before. They pull in Rey Fenix almost literally off the street to do this thing. So you'll give him credit that the dude got his first WrestleMania.
Yeah, and they both, and listen, they both did great. And honestly, that doesn't surprise me because Ray and Chad both can call things in the ring. They're both safe, they're both strong, and they made everything look great. It is what it is, and I'll credit where it's due. The El Grande Americano mariachi band with the sepia tone entrance was pretty. It was pretty damn funny.
And I gotta give Chad Gable some credit. It is not easy to work in the lucha style.
No, and he does. Easy. Well, that whatever they wanted to call it, he did a 360 that landed him in a back down position.
Yeah.
That I will be honest, I've seen tons of luchador stuff, never seen that. And he did it so cleanly.
Yeah. So I mean, that is impressive. And I love
it's the kind of thing I'm so frustrated just on behalf of a guy where you look at it and you're like, your ceiling is so high, and if you get so far as the Intercontinental Championship, my friend.
The problem, though, is his size. That's just this problem.
It's WWE would never. I mean, it takes a lot to be undersized and given the championship belt opportunity. You could make an argument an hour long how Chad has done more with less than dozens of other people. But you know what? If he's making money and he's happy, keep it going. And I will never not laugh at putting a steel plate into your mask and headbutting people.
And you get that's merch. You sell that merch. You're getting that money. And I gotta say, the bit where they keep the Michael Cole bit where it's like it's Rey Mysterio. No, it's not. It's Ray. I mean, it's Chad Gable. No, it's not. It's Chad Gable. No, it's not. I find that amusing. Although I know that there are folks on social media who hate it. they keep saying, it's so obviously Chad Gable. Why don't they do anything about it? Why aren't they? I'm like, folks, that is like a long running gimmick in wrestling where it's
You're
like,
missing it by a country mile. But you
yeah,
know what? Those people, you're never going to get over with them, so you just let them be mad.
yeah. And they I'm telling you, they get mad.
Actually, what I'm hoping for, I would pay for it. WWE, make this happen. I dare you. I want an El Grande Americano action figure that when you pull the mask off, the face is blank.
No, it's Rey Mysterio.
It's like just generic, or worse, it's like, yeah, like it's some old figure. Like just take an old rock and just slap it in. Anyway, let's go on to one. I'm very curious about your thoughts. This might be the most contentious we get, depending on where you fall on this one. It was Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I gave this 0.5 out of 5, and that's being generous.
Mm-hmm.
And I said the half a star goes to the Barbie entrance. They almost had something with the back and forth words prior to Mania, but they did not finish the story in the ring where it belongs. Cargill and Naomi had a better match by several orders of magnitude. This felt less like two wrestlers having a match and more like WWE 2K25. Sloppy, random spots, haphazard psychology, and way too long.
First thing that went through my head in the very beginning when the match first started was Kramer in Seinfeld. Cat fight. They were going at each other and pulling hair and stuff. I'm like, okay, I can see where they're going with this. They were trying to make it a little more brutal because apparently the more I think about it, the more I think it's a work. The whole thing about them, like, insulting each other and that. I just think it's them again trying to do that whole bit. Ooh, are they really pissed?
If I put money on it, I'd say that it probably got itself into shoot territory for half a second before people behind the scenes calmed them both down and said, great, now let's lean into it.
Right. Because at one point then, yeah, you're right. And then the thing that got me was, and this happened one other time, this happened during the John Cena Cody Rhodes match. You saw Charlotte calling the match. You saw her giving Tiffany, the spot. So I'm like, if you hate her, why are you helping her? It's kind of like right.
Well, so. And then there were some. I mean, we got to say this too up front. Brutal. Did Tiffany break multiple teeth?
She busted her tooth. Yeah, she afterwards. It looked pretty bad.
Yeah, she got rocked pretty hard. I mean, again, like, yeah.
But I will say, for what it is, I mean, no, the match did not mesh. It did not work as well as I think people would have wanted. I believe had they had gone with, let's say, Tiffany Stratton versus, I would have liked to have seen Tiffany Stratton versus Rhea Ripley. That would have been good. But then, we would have been denied the following that day. But anyway, I know how I felt about it. I don't know how you felt.
Well, so there were a bunch of other SmackDown ladies, Vicaria and some other ones, newer gals, that it would have been a great showcase to not have to bring back what I would call a legacy with Charlotte. And it's just one of those things, like, she came back, you can't deny that, but like, there is a continental divide between these classes in the women's division. This whole thing just looked a little sloppy, way too sloppy for me. I actually tagged it. Looked like to me, as green as Tiffany is, Charlotte was not, as much as he was calling the match, she was not keeping up.
You're right.
She lost a step. And more than that, I could care less about missing a step or blowing a spot here and there. When you don't bring psychology into the match, I get mad. And for someone like Charlotte, who knows better, if somebody targets your leg, you sell the leg. Mm-hmm. You don't, like, you can't have, especially in a match where neither of them were babyface or heel, you can't get the, like, I'm gonna fight through my pain.
Right. That was a weird thing. It's because no one could figure out who was what. I mean, it was supposed to be Charlotte the heel and Tiffany the face, but I mean, that was a sudden switch because Tiffany has been a heel for so long and all. But
it's just when you paired them up, the crowd goes, "Oh, well, in that case, I want her to win."
Right. So, but you're right. That was a really cool entrance for Tiffany.
It was. The Barbie thing was great.
And poor Charlotte on her entrance again, trying to open a rope, couldn't figure. Something happened where she couldn't get the damn thing to work. They had to cut away again.
And of all the times Andrade could have had a job, he could have driven her. Poor kid.
Oh wow! Don't bring that up. That's a sore spot right now.
I said we got 15 minutes before the end of the hour, but we've got one match left for night one. And that is Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins versus CM Punk for the fate of the universe.
All right. This to me, I gotta say, and I know what you're going to say, but because I was so invested in each of the characters, I'm going to give them. It was probably, especially considering earlier in the evening, there were so many blown spots, and there were so many botches, and there was so much like the timing seemed to be off on everybody. These guys just seemed to have it. They seemed to have their. They were just, working it all to set up that end, which to me was like, for everyone who was saying, well, what's the big deal about CM Punk main eventing? And none of these guys have a title. What are the stakes? And this and all. Well, I think we kind of called what the stakes were. And I think a lot of people predicted what could or what would happen. But the fact, even though you saw it coming, I thought the execution of it was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, again, this was my match of the entire event, both nights.
Yeah, no, it was pretty. Yeah, they were the guys for the most part. Again, this is when you have three veterans who have been doing this for a while, been working together. I thought Elimination Chamber. I'm not Elimination. I thought War Games, when they were working on War Games.
Yeah.
Was impressive. Punk and Reigns.
Which are two people you would not honestly put in the ring and have great chemistry. Just because, but I'll tell you it's in this context, I think Punk is elevated by the two younger opponents because he knows where to get his stuff in, and he knows how to let them carry him to look better. Where he's going to lose a step just because he's older.
Yeah.
But it was awesome. Everything was great about it, and the ending was as it should be.
And we'll talk more about that in the second hour. We are going to take for the radio, take a little bit of a longer break. But for the YouTube, we'll be back in about 60 seconds, folks. This is the Torn Quadcast on WRMN Radio and WRMN Radio YouTube.
Don't enjoy this music. And we are back, folks. This is the Torn Quadcast with your hosts, Elliott Serrano and Mark Allen Fishman. We are in hour 2. If you were listening on the stick, sorry, we're gone now. But what are you listening to?
We're still here on the YouTube page. I'm thinking we should, because we always end up wanting to talk about so much more on the show. And we started this on the episode with Rob Schamberger with our bonus content, which I thought worked really well. I discussed it with Sonar. He says, you can make the show as long as you want on YouTube. It's only so much of it's going to run on the radio. So,
that's okay. We'll get a following everywhere.
Everywhere. So anyway, the Torn Quadcast here on WRMN Radio, and it's at one point this will be a podcast. I know we're going to have that out there so people can listen to it as a podcast. But the Torn Quadcast is where we talk about sports, entertainment, sports, and entertainment. And why am I doing the intro again? This is the second hour. People know who we are.
Yeah, they know it. That's
yeah,
okay.
They know it. All right. So we were talking about let's real quick on the conclusion of night one of WrestleMania.
Yes.
The oh, and by the way, no breaks from here on out. We can talk as long as we want because again, this is bonus. So remind me that when I say we're going to go to a break, go Elliot. You don't need to go to a break. I went, oh yeah, that's right.
You know what? I will let you go to a break so we can do a John Cena break where we just stare at the audience for 2 minutes.
I will say I want to go into the whole bit with real quick about the night one main event. You know, Punk, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns. Again, it ended the only way it could. CM Punk has never wanted to go over in a main event. He just wanted to be in a main event.
Yes, and you could see, like, let's roll it all the way back to the intros, by the way. Roman Reigns, nothing special, just walks out, does his ooh-ah, and he's in the ring. Seth Rollins does the Jesus act, which is a great nod to the past if you know the past.
Ooh, can you explain this to me? Because I just thought this is Easter, and I swear, I mean, because again, I was commenting about this on social media that he comes out, he does the in the black, wearing like a garbage bag or something. And again, it's Seth Rollins looking different. Okay, I'm going to give him that. I mean, sometimes I don't get it. But
I don't get it anytime. But just the guy wears weird fashion.
He does, but I mean, I think years from now, we're talking after he retires, we're going to talk about him like we talk about Macho Man Randy Savage, like we talked about the Gorgeous George, like we talked about Goldust, that they had this presence about them and they really pushed the boundaries as far as costuming and all that. So
what I love is that he stole that sub gimmick from the Miz, which makes me so happy.
But okay, so did the Miz once come out like in a shining outfit that when the light shined on him, it made a crucifix of light?
No, but the whole like high fashion Hollywood, I'm wearing something crazy. Miz started that, and then Seth Rollins is like, "Oh, I can do that way better."
Yeah, although the Miz doesn't push it as far. No. The Miz keeps it a little bit more conservative, though. But again, the Miz is great. Anyone who ever throws any shade at the Miz is going to catch these hands because the dude is one of the best. But still, so I'm there on social media. I'm going, wait a minute. Is Seth Rollins doing like Jesus at WrestleMania on Easter weekend? And so I went, no, he's doing the mighty gemstones or something.
The righteous gemstones.
Righteous gemstones. It's that. I went, okay. I know, because then he gets into the ring and the camera pulls right up on him. He's got a freaking crown of thorns. Okay, he was wearing a crown of thorns. To which point I'm going, oh no. Seth Rollins is doing Jesus wearing a crown of thorns on Saturday. We're talking the Saturday after Good Friday. The fact that nobody was really talking about it on all the post-Mania shows goes to show me that fandom and the sports journalism, the WrestleMania journalism, somebody please ask him about that. No one has asked him about that. And it's stupid, ridiculous. That's the one thing you would expect that people would like. No. It's like, oh no. Well, now he's a Paul Heyman guy. Oh.
I mean, I'm not really up on the Christian mythology, but isn't there a Paul somewhere?
There is a Paul.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Oh my goodness, you're right.
Now the illusion that Seth is making beyond the religious is, if you followed his story, he came out first as Tyler Black, and Seth Rollins' initial ring gear was all SWAT gear black. Yeah. And when he turned heel and did his big turn, he wore white.
Yes, I remember that outfit that he wore when he was, what was it, the Authority? The when
when the Shield.
the Shield. No,
Well,
after
when
he
he
turned,
yeah,
when he broke up the Shield and he joined Triple H, it was the
he
Authority.
went white and they became the Authority or whatever they
And
dubbed themselves.
and I remember going, "Oh, it's his Barry Gibb outfit." Because
Yes,
I swear he looked like Barry Gibb
very much so.
in that. I remember finding an image of Seth Rollins and Barry Gibb in like a white disco outfit and put them together. And I shared that on social media. I'm going, oh my God, he's doing Barry Gibb. But anyway.
With the
Yeah.
bifurcated hair. But yeah, so this was basically all an illusion, AL allusion to what was going to happen in the match. And here we got the double nut diggler from Paul Heyman to both CM Punk, who, by the way, again, talking about entrances, CM Punk got to have
And he got the whole package. Like even before he came in, they did like a whole package about him going into there.
Which was this was, and I wrote it in my notes, clearly part of the contract that he signed when he came back that said, if I'm getting my WrestleMania main event, this is exactly what I want. I want the package. I want Living Color to come out and play my theme song. I want Paul Heyman there, and I want to feel the crowd's adulation as this is what I want to do. This is my bucket list item. This is how you get me happy. If I win the championship, fantastic. But if I don't, this is how I can still die happy. And he got all of it. And you could tell, like, acting aside, Paul Heyman walks out with him, kisses him on the forehead. They share a moment very visibly. Like, hey, you did it. You got it. So soak this in, because later on I will be gargling your happy sack.
Well, not gargling it, more like
tickling,
jamming it, punching it.
Well, and then like
putting
maneuvering
it in my elbow,
left and
like a cracking it like a nutcracker,
doing like an NSYNC move in front of it. But anyway,
bye.
Yes. So he gets that big entrance and then said that these guys went at it. It was a great match. There were great spots. I wrote down there was too many notes, but there were all the things that I wanted to see happen in the previous matches that I didn't. Like the fact that Roman hits a huge move and then immediately goes for the pin, because it turns out this is a sporting contest in which you are trying to win a match. And the fact that they all were working hard, they all had great spots, and it worked out well. I was tracking, by the way, in my notes, how often I felt that Brock Lesnar would just show up.
Yes. I was at some point, I was like, wait, what's going to happen? There's a pause. What? Okay. No.
Yeah, I kept playing, like, at first I was like 4-1 odds he shows up. And then there was the lull, and I'm like, okay, 2-1 odds. Because now they're telling the story. Something has to interject here, because no one can get the pin. Someone's going to have to do something.
Yeah.
And then we get Paul doing this. And what this led to on Raw, which we should talk about, is Paul Heyman has also added to his new stable, perhaps, Braun Breaker, who is now teaming with Seth Rollins in some way, shape, or form. The internet is going crazy, and they're already calling that this is the next Evolution stable, and
or call it the new Dangerous Alliance
or something. All I'm saying is it's not Evolution, because the whole point of Evolution is that you had an ancient wrestler.
Yeah.
And
well, that was the whole point. Where you're right. Ric Flair, Triple H, Batista, and
Randy Orton.
Randy Orton, who was as green as grass when he first started, although, mind you, incredibly talented, but the dude was like 20-something years old.
Yeah.
Yet Ric Flair, who was pushing, he was in his 50s at that point. Batista, who, while had been around for a while, still didn't quite.
Oh, he was greener than Randy.
Yeah, but also had. You know what the funny thing too is? I've met Dave Batista. I've talked to him, and a great guy. And when he talks about those times, and you could tell, okay, I can see why it took him so long to catch on like he did. And being around Triple H and Ric Flair, that was the whole bit. That's what you learn. You learn from them, and that's when he finally really developed his character and got up from there, especially with Triple H. With Paul, having Paul Heyman. If Paul Heyman is working with you, and you've got Seth Rollins there, who's also a veteran, who's been in the business, well, he's been at WWE how many years? Like close to 20 years, right?
Quite a while, yes.
And then you have Braun Breaker under him. I seem to have this sneaking suspicion this isn't the last guy who's going to be in there.
Clearly.
And I kind of think I'm going to predict that somehow Gunther is going to end up in the mix.
You're just thinking out loud, same as me. It's like there's whenever you have a stable, and I am such a mark for stables. I love them. I do. I'm just excited. Like this whole thing, putting those two together, it's an interesting chemistry and energy because we'll get into it later here, but Braun Breaker is definitely on the path. He will be a champion, a multi-time champion, because he has everything from his lineage and can do the things that. So back in the day, the Steiner brothers were pretty good. They won a lot of tag team belts because they were beasts in the ring, but they didn't talk. They weren't talkers. They were out there to fight.
Well, Scott Steiner later on.
And I was going to say, so what happens is when they break up, Rick retires from injury and just done. Scott develops the persona and loses a step in the ring.
Big Papa Pump. Although, you lose a step in the ring, it doesn't matter if you're good on the mic.
He was so good on the mic that he didn't have to do the things that he could no longer do. And it was a brilliant move.
Who was making? God, what was it? Was it McAfee who was making the math joke while during the Braun Breaker IC Fatal 4-Way?
Probably, but every time Pat spoke, I muted it. So
okay. Again, every time when people talk about that, the percentages of winning against Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner, they're going. I'm listening to it. I'm going. Wait, that math actually checks out.
Oh no, it did. Like that. People don't realize Scott Steiner is actually really, really good at math.
He's brilliant. The dude's brilliant. Yeah.
I think he graduated with an engineering degree.
Yeah.
But regardless, the fact that Braun Breaker can talk, even though he doesn't have much of what I would call a personality, his personality is "I'm going to murder you."
Yeah.
But
he'll get there.
With a Paul Heyman, Paul is going to help shape that character. And he's going to give him the intangibles he needs when this is all done to take that next leg up, because he's already been the Intercontinental Champion, and we've already known that he can hold down a belt and take the Gunther "you can't beat me" role in the ring, but now he just needs the other side of this. I would love, me personally, what I haven't seen yet, and I'm praying for, is a complete stable. That includes, and Judgment Day got close, but they were just such skeeves, I couldn't give them the credit. You want your world beaters. You want a tag team. You want a female. You want a whole effing show, basically. And if Paul Heyman can out Judgment Day, Judgment Day, and show you how it's actually supposed to be, sort of like what Karrion Kross half-ass did and really shouldn't have. Not his fault, by the way, and I hope that we talk about him later. With Ellering and having a tag team and having his wife who's kind of there. But like, that's what I want. I want them to like go around and pluck and pick and then have that stable and just make Raw appointment setting television, because right now your main story is still going to be kind of SmackDown, and Raw, we already know, if you haven't read in the papers, Raw's lost 35% of its viewership from cable down to Netflix. Like the honeymoon's over, and now they need to figure out a way to get some of it back.
Yeah, well, was it 35% national or worldwide? Because again, the streaming numbers are different from
they are, but they were trying to compare it to whatever the viewership was in total of Raw prior to the jump to after, and they were comparing it 35% over the first week. Right. Which we know there would be a drop off, but that's 1 in 3 people.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, it's only you could only expect Raw to keep so many numbers. Plus, again, there is a bit of watching the last couple of Raws. It's like, okay, it's turned back into just being the weekly show again. The Raw after WrestleMania gave us 2 matches, mind you, good matches, but only 2, and the rest was all posturing and plot. So yeah.
Right. So they got a long way to go. But hey, it's night 2. Let's kick it out. First match was Io Sky, who got to ride in a blimp.
Yeah.
Good for her. Versus Bianca Belair, who came out to what I could best describe as an Outcast video, and in a good
And
way.
his
It was
and
great.
his stepdaughter, her stepdaughter was there. There was her
Right, which was
stepdaughter in the
awesome. I
thing.
said, like,
And
thumbs up.
they were doing the double dutch, which was kind of cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no thumbs down there. Like, I legitimately liked it. And then Rhea
Yeah.
Ripley came out to Rhea Ripley things.
And that was the first huge pop of the night.
Well,
They
it was their
did
first match. It was the first pop of
no,
WrestleMania.
a WrestleMania. I was going to say yes, because you
Yeah.
did not get any pops like that the night before. Well, with the exception of the main event.
The main event got
But,
some crowd noise late into it, but this was
Right.
a hot opener.
Yes.
Clearly somebody read the notes and they're like, yo, bring up the energy.
When This Is My Brutality hit, they did the little sound meter thing in the corner, and that went up. It's like they lost their minds when she came out. And it sit there and go, man, I remember when Rhea Ripley was not over like that, and then boom, she's it. She is over and she could write her own ticket.
All three of them in their own respective ways are over as much as they may be. Bianca's got a little bit more ceiling left, and I feel like she just needs more stories to tell, because she told a good story with Jade and Naomi that ended. It transitioned her into this feud, which we went about like 3 episodes in a row basically complaining because they figured it out early and then repeated the same droning, like no one's paying attention to EO. And in my predictions to you on Facebook before these came out, I said it's going to be the same thing. Rhea and Bianca are going to go at each other savage. EO is going to interject to show she matters. She'll be thrown away, and in the end it will happen again, and she'll walk away with the belt, because there's no better story to tell right now than that. And hopefully that gives EO the rub. What you're hoping for is, now will people take her seriously as the female champion on SmackDown? I'd like to say hopefully that did happen. I was impressed. I've never seen an EO Sky match bell to bell prior to this. I was very impressed by her. I wrote that her entire point in this match is to be the human battering ram, and she's doing it well.
Mm-hmm. And you're right. They started off hot. I mean, they took, I think the girl said, oh, wait, we just saw what the guys did the night before in the main event. We're going to take it up a notch. And they did. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're talking, they didn't have as much time, but they hit. I'm saying the timing was on. It was quick. Some of the moves, the spots, I mean, some of the spots were physical and brutal. Oh, my God. And when Bianca Belair took her ponytail and like smacks Rhea Ripley and you get that whip effect again, you're like, oh, and everyone in the stadium like reacted to it. And they're going, and that's the one where I got the most reaction on social media when I was asking for people's ratings on it. Most people, there's some folks that should have been the main event. They said that should have been the main event of WrestleMania.
I would say, given the way that it did end, I would have preferred that one maybe, but there's reasons. But I mean, overall, it's a double thumbs up. They did exactly what they meant to do. That was WrestleMania worthy. Next time, gear makers, please tell Bianca to stop making gear that litters, because she was all over the place.
There was stuff coming off her.
Oh my God. Like every time she took a bump, she shed it. It's just like, it's a great effect. But then you think, like, I don't want someone to step on the wrong thing or slip or whatever.
I was thinking about American Beauty with the rose petals on the tub. I'm like, oh man.
I just like to stare at my opponent as she falls on top of me. Please, Rhea. Okay, next match, Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest. Shout out once again to Dumb Ideas, putting your Scottish psychopath in Doom armor that looks ridiculous.
And standing next to something, I'm assuming that was a Clash of Clans reference again.
Doom.
Oh no, that was Doom.
It's the new Doom game, by the way,
Doom game. Okay,
which they did not say. Because I'm watching him come out, and Drew's wearing this weird chest harness with a glowing chest emblem.
Like
and
he had
I'm looking
an arc reactor, like Iron Man or something.
Yeah, and I'm staring at that going, that doesn't really feel like Scottish warrior. And then he steps up in what could best be described as a Spirits of Halloween decoration. of this little foam core skulls with a weird shield thing, and I'm like, once
And one had
again,
a helmet on it. Yeah.
well, and the helmet, I'm like, I've seen that helmet before. Is this a stupid ass video game? And then right as he's hitting the ring, they're like, and this is brought to you by Doom, the Dark Age. And I was like, oh God, again. And this is a heel. Why is he wearing some sponsored crap? It lessened it quite a bit. But then you know what? We can all forget about it because Kerry King comes out, so he can play Damian Priest out to the stage. And
He was wearing. I mean, I can't get on Drew McIntyre, doing the Doom bit when not how many WrestleManias ago when freaking Triple H came out like the Terminator. I mean, and he
it's
had
ridiculous. I hate it. I'm just saying, like, just you can sponsor everything, but please stop sponsoring wrestlers unless it's for the irony. Like if Starbucks had sponsored Grande Americano.
Oh, I'm still waiting for them to come out with the little cups. I mean, WWE needs to do like the coffee cups with the Grande Americano on them.
I'm all for those, but anything else, like, you got to watch it. But anyway, it is a Sin City street fight. And once again, I thought these guys worked their ass off, and we can say that now. It's 3 out of 5 for me. I thought they did a really good job. There were some really great spots. I'm glad that they kept it safe in spite of all the carnage and all the things they did. Like I was just looking at it, wincing, going, please, no one get injured. And just because I'm just not a big fan of him, Damian Priest, no offense, but I was glad to see that, it was good. And I hope and pray that this leads to better things for both of those guys. I don't want them to be in what I call the Sheamus zone.
Yeah, I'm afraid
you're a big guy who is forever underneath the main event, always the guy to, get somebody else over and make them look good.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like we all know, Damian Priest had his bite at the apple. He did well for what his time with the championship and the Judgment Day, they made it work. And Drew McIntyre, we all know, he had the belt at the worst possible time, and he's never been able to crack that top tier. And if he's on SmackDown, he won't.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm going to be honest. I mean, I was a fan of Damian Priest. I mean, he's a fellow Puerto Rican. I should be rooting for him, but I kind of checked out for this one too. I was like, yeah. I was like, I had already been like, this is the thing about the WrestleMania when you have that. Although, man, they had 2 nights, but I swear there were fewer matches over the 2 nights than in previous WrestleManias, where they just kept jamming one thing in after another, after another, after another. So I was like,
Well, that's the thing. Remember, Vince doesn't mind the 30-second segment. Triple H does not do that.
No, and add to that, it's like everything's got to be something. Although now the 30-second segments are freaking advertising. So yeah.
Yes. So it was fine. Next matchup, Penta versus Braun Breaker versus Finn Balor versus Dirty Dom for the IC Championship.
And this is when I laughed and laughed because
right.
I'll say it now. If you look at the Facebook page, folks, Mark said, yeah, so-and-so should win. But if WWE just wants to piss me off or something like that, just troll me or whatever, then Dom will win. And who won?
Oh, I said I absolutely meant it. So, like, when you look at these 4 people, right? Braun Breaker is coming in as the IC champ. And the story you can tell in these multiple people matches is, does the title holder retain because any of the other ones don't really elicit some over-the-top response, or you get to protect by, hey, if the guy who had the belt didn't get pinned, he can immediately turn around and say, hey, I didn't get pinned for it. And if you look at the grouping here, no offense to the human highlighter, Finn Balor, who came out in the dumbest hood possible. There was no way he was winning this match. That guy has fallen so far from the indie darling that he used to be. He is fodder.
When he had that great entrance, yeah.
Yeah, he's fodder.
He was
So
the inaugural, like, was it inaugural Universal Champion?
yes,
He was like the guy for a while.
Triple H booked him as a main event world beater, and that works in the context of NXT. But when he got his sea legs to the main roster, eventually he woke up and he's like, "Oh, that guy is not that."
Mm.
So anyway, move him aside. Now you're left with Penta, Braun Breaker, and Dirty Dom. Penta, new, hot, great in the ring, over with the fans, would be a fine choice, but that would be a big moment, but he could have a bigger moment one-on-one. So we could kind of move him off, let him get some great spots in. He loses nothing from losing the match. And that just leaves Braun versus Dom. And we've already seen Braun can destroy Dom. We know that. So what makes the most sense? Let the heeliest of heels, a kid who's shown he's competent in the ring. In fact, probably he's better than competent now. He can go if he needed to go, but he knows his dad raised him right. He doesn't have to do any of that. He's grown out the Eddie mullet and the mustache, and he can just be the poop can heel, win the belt, and run away. And I said, like, this is the natural progression of the story, right? Because he's still part of quote unquote Judgment Day. And the whole thing has been follow Finn. I'm the leader. When I lead, we win. Well, now it looks like we'll either dissolve this faction or we're going to get a stint of Dirty Dom, the leader, which is hilarious. Let it happen. The IC championship may be a little high on the horse for him, but there's nothing else underneath it. So let it happen. It's on SmackDown. He's going to do great. All hail the Chicken Tender King.
And to think that people would boo him so loud that you wouldn't hear him talk when he won that belt, the crowd went again. They went nuts. It's like, it's just, and he does it. To me, you're right. His father taught him well. And the thing that sits there and go, God, how old is he though? He's like, what, 23, 24? I mean, he's young. The dude hasn't even filled out all the way. I mean, can you imagine when he, gets really like in the prime of his physical and everything, and he's gonna be a monster.
Him and Braun Breaker both are. This is just the tip of the iceberg. By the way, just a note to all professional wrestlers across every federation: if your spear does not look as good as Braun Breaker's spear, stop doing the spear.
Yeah, don't bother. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
That guy puts Goldberg to shame. I've never seen another wrestler go that fast, that hard.
The bit where when he runs, or either he's bouncing off the ropes in the ring, or he runs on the outside, he runs around the ring. What they've timed him, he runs like 23 miles per hour, something like that. Some ungodly speed for being on the ground indoors of all things. And then he hits you with it. And it looks painful.
He did it to Carlito so hard. Carlito actually thought that he was popular again.
I like Carlito.
I do too. I'm so glad that guy's getting a little money.
I mean, he gets to be back there and just be, comedic effect or.
It's perfectly pitched. This was a great match. It kept the crowd alive. And speaking of the next match,
before we go, no, but this match, I mean, that match was incredible. The Braun Breaker spear from one table to the other table, I was like, holy mackerel. So yes. Again, I was sitting there going into WrestleMania. I was like, all these triple threat matches, all these fatal four ways, man. I don't know. It's just like it feels like filler to me. And I swear that the multiple the triple threats, the four fatal four ways, those were some of the best matches. They were.
They all went harder. They all were. Whoever was doing the booking behind the scenes on those matches should be commended, because they told the best story possible in all cases.
Yeah. All right.
The next match out is the shortest because, I mean, it's a match in air quotes. Randy Orton who had an open challenge because in real life, real sad, Kevin Steen has neck fusion surgery that took him out. So we had yet again another situation in which there was no way Randy Orton was not going to be on the card because he is of a certain age that he's getting that WrestleMania payday, whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And they needed somebody to come in. And this is another case where I wrote on Facebook and saying, well, we don't know who he's going to face, but same as Phoenix on the last night, here's your problem. You bring out somebody like Rusev, who we all heard rumors might be coming back. If he comes out to lose, you've killed his heat immediately.
Right.
So you need someone that Randy Orton can beat, but someone whose star power doesn't dwindle because they took an L to Randy Orton, and they picked the perfect guy.
I'll tell you what, I saw Hendry.
Yes.
I should remember that because there was a former Cubs GM named Hendry. I was like, oh my God, it's him. And they had the package, the music. Everyone knew who he was.
100%. This guy, and it's already come out on social media. He already did a couple of interviews, and I love that they mentioned it. That Triple H and Orton told him both before this match are like, trust me, you're going to be back. This is the first of many to come, because this is another tale of the indie darling that got himself over by sheer willpower alone. And he's very competent in the ring. It's funny that I do put out like the one little is that he is the TNA world champion. So we technically have just proven that Randy Orton could take that belt whenever he felt like.
Yeah.
But the way the match was booked, it was perfect. He comes out, he gets his crowd pop. There's a little bit of a match. And
he got the moves in. Moves in. Yes. There was the one bit I was cracking up when Joe when he puts the thing like he's gonna choke slam Randy Orton, and Randy Orton's like, what is this?
The smack the hand away. Yes. By the way, shout out to Randy Orton for the tight choice for the gear. He was wearing a throwback to his very first WWE trunks.
Cool.
Which I thought was cool. Though I did point out it's a little sucky, and this happened a couple times too. We didn't mention it. The Tiffany Stratton Charlotte match suffered from the same problem. When two wrestlers wear the same color gear, it becomes a problem. With Charlotte and Tiffy, there were times where I was legitimately trying to figure out who was hitting who.
Yeah.
In this case, it was just blue and white versus blue and green.
Yeah.
I was like, if he could have differentiated a little bit, that would have been nice, but whatever.
But I did watch the post event bit with Triple H, and he told Joe Hendry, he goes, hey, you will be back. There will be more. He goes, this is the least stressful WrestleMania you're ever gonna know.
Exactly.
And bit, I'm telling you, the bit when he does the turn to the camera, and then he gets, again, you could tell that's what they were doing. We're going to do the RKO on Joe Hendry when he does the turn, but you got to frame it just right so you don't see it coming. And you start going, okay, you're right. This is why they booked that match. It was just a bit, okay, we're going to have a little fun. We're going to break the tension. We're going to bring some humor into this.
Yes.
It's kind of a squash match, though not quite. People are going to enjoy it. And yes, Joe Hendry walked out, I thought, looking great. And what did Randy Orton even do at the end of the match? Picks the kid up, says good job, raises his hand, that whole thing, like the whole it's like a squash, but I'm not here to like humiliate you. That was,
he did get the other RKO in, but that's fine.
Well, yeah, that's true, but still,
I will point out here a couple of things that I did want to point out for this match before we move on. First of all, Orton's poke to the eye was my second move of the night.
Yes. I'm telling you, I was laughing so hard.
I will never not love the poke to the eye. It is a thing of beauty.
Yeah, it's the Roddy Piper. Piper.
It's bloody perfect.
Or Ric Flair would do it too. But
exactly.
But Randy Orton was in full performance mode. He had the facial expressions down, all that kind of stuff, because the camera was in there catching everything. That was brilliant. See, and I feel bad because I mean, I don't feel bad. I mean, if you paid like $2,500 to be at this thing, there's a lot of stuff you just don't catch being there. I mean, unless you're going to spend the whole time looking at the giant jumbotron, then why did you pay all that money to be in the stadium and not even look at the match? Like, I found that's something that happens when I would go to Raw tapings or any pay-per-views. I naturally would look at the television, like the giant thing, to see what's happening instead of looking in the ring. And I'm there going, why am I doing this? I could do this at home.
Right.
So
well, that's yeah. I'll never understand. Like, I understand you're going for the vibes, but yeah, that's a little weird to me. But here nor there. The other thing I want to point out, and I want to ask you this trivia question: even in the inflated numbers of the WWE, how much does Randy Orton weigh?
oh my God, it's like, I don't know, what did they say he did? It was like,
Okay, but here's
do
the thing:
something.
he is truly around 250 pounds because he is cut and he's tall.
And but he's also very muscular. See, here's the thing. I'm like 230 and I'm not as tall as he is.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Pat says Randy was 290 pounds.
Okay, no, that's
and
unless,
then
yeah.
I said Barrett cut Randy's weight down to 280. Still wrong.
I don't know. It's like when they do the NFL combine, they say like a guy's, or even the NBA, he's 6'9", when the dude's like at best 6'5" in gym shoes, stuff.
Right. Yeah. It was another thing. Like, of all the things to mess up, I'm like, because Michael Cole even shouted out his statisticians. And I'm like, well,
it's like when he fell from 30 feet in the air. It's not even 10,
No, 30 feet would kill him, Michael, but that's okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk next match here. This is Logan Paul versus AJ Styles for the battle of I can't even say it, PG-13. There we go. It was an interesting match in which I will say that is the only match, while I had WrestleMania on my second screen as I was doing everything and watching and taking notes, it is the only match my 13-year-old came up to and watched stem to stern.
Oh, wow.
Because he came up and he goes, "Oh,
he's into Logan Paul?" Or AJ
well,
Styles?
he doesn't like Logan Paul, but he knows him. So he's
Okay.
like, "Wait, Dad, why is Logan Paul wrestling in the WWE?" And I was like, "He is on the roster now." And he's like, "Is he a good guy or a bad guy?" I'm like, "He'll perennially be a bad guy, probably forever." And I'm pointing out to him, like, he's doing these moves correctly. He's protecting AJ Styles. He's telling a decent story because AJ is a veteran and he knows how to make this work for him. You can't, again, it's the most frustrating thing about Logan Paul is the guy is athletic and he knows what he's doing. You can't complain when he's throwing great moves out there. He's got one of the best finishers in wrestling right now, and I hate it. Hate it.
I know.
The only thing about it is the setup is a little hard to swallow when you just kind of pick up the guy next to you, like, all right, now you're going to jump for me. Yeah. But the story that we had going into this, right, is your typical. So far, everyone who's wrestled Logan Paul has had the same story. I don't like you, internet guy. You don't belong here. This is not your place. I am a veteran. Though this had the weird twist of Karrion Kross, who is getting involved more and more with AJ Styles, trying to, quote, get the best out of him, saying like, in order to beat Logan Paul, I need to awaken the real AJ Styles, and I'm going to do it any way I can.
Yeah, that was because then Karrion Kross went on one of the podcasts afterwards and dropped people think it's a shoot. I think it's a work, saying that he should have been first talking about kept calling AJ by his name, Alan. I'm like,
yeah,
Alan, what? And then saying, oh, well, it should have been me against Randy Orton, not Joe Hendry. Although I'm not going to blame Joe Hendry. They keep holding me back, and they're going, oh, I see what's happening here.
Oh, they're definitely telling that story because, again, if you want to talk about work versus shoot, he is a WWE wrestler who was allowed to work another match in another group over that weekend. He did I guess it's kind of it's a slightly more sports oriented version of wrestling. It's somebody's blood sport or
Okay.
whatever it's called. And I watched highlight clips from it. They take the ring ropes down, and I'm like, is it like when WWE tried to do their own little UFC thing and it
Yeah.
was terrible? I was like, oh God, please don't make that it. But what it is the UFC style, but it's still pro wrestling. So like they're
Okay.
calling shots. They're not quite stomp punching, but you can tell they're not going full force. But they treat it like it's a scored event,
Mhm.
and he wrestled and he apparently was like a world beater and he looked great. I think maybe it was GCW or whatever the company that ran it. But I'm like, first of all, if you're on WWE, you are an independent contractor by name only. You're not able to go to another federation without a million contracts signed. So
Right, right. So yeah. So going to that, the Karrion Cross, I'm hoping he finally starts getting a little more exposure there, a
I
little
mean,
more
like I
look.
said, we talk about it, right? Like there's story here with him now.
Yeah.
He could have a beef with AJ and they could have a good match and AJ will make him look like $1 million.
Or what makes sense, it's Logan Paul. You know,
He could go after Logan Paul as well. He could actually go after both of them. So let's see where they go with that. I will also call this out, and I don't know. Again, this is me, maybe just because of my age or whatever. I'm just shouting out Logan Paul's tights, man. Don't do that again, because his tights were almost Chris Benoit's tights.
okay. Oh, wait,
Like
wait.
it's that pattern, that like torn
Uh-huh.
thing, and I looked it up because I was like, maybe I'm just putting things where they don't belong. No, I looked it up. They were almost.
Maybe it wasn't. Well, I don't know.
If you're calling that out, it's still too soon. Don't do it.
I get it. To that point, Logan Paul knows how to handle technology too. The bit with the drone in the beginning,
Cute, hilarious,
I
love
was
it.
like, wait, hold on, the drone. Holy mackerel! So that
Whoever's
was
piloting it backstage, get their
yeah.
WrestleMania
Get the
bump.
minute. Yeah.
Uh, After this, oh, you know
Wait.
what? Yeah.
Hold on a sec. I'm sorry. You were saying.
Well, I will say in the order of things, I think something happened when I was watching. When night two was happening, Unshaven Comics had a meeting. So I paused WrestleMania so we could have our meeting. When I came back, the feed had maybe hiccuped and I missed an entire match. So I'm not sure. My next notes was the Stone Cold segment, which
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Like again, they had all these people out, right? Let's put it this: but Stone Cold came out because he was honored in what I personally think is the dumbest class of Hall of Famers. This year, like we are drawing from the bottom of the barrel when it's Typhoon, Michelle McCool, and now we have to make up something else. So matches, we'll give matches Hall of Famers. So Bret Hart, who gave the best dirty look to Triple H, and Stone Cold's match at WrestleMania 19 was highlighted. So that's how you get a Stone Cold in the building. So he has the duty to come out on his four-wheeler, get lost by taking the wrong on-ramp, if you've seen the behind-the-scenes footage, get back to the right spot way too late, buzz down the ring at top speed, blast into the ring barrier and
My,
almost hit a fan.
mind you, he went around once and was fine.
Yes.
Had he just stopped then, it would have been fine. But he was having so much fun because I'm pretty sure he probably had a few before he went out there that he went around again and then, yes, went into the barrier and again,
He
some.
almost hit a fan. He definitely jostled her. You could tell when the segment was over, he came in and leaned in and whispered something to her or yelled something at her like, "Hey, I am so sorry." But anyway, he came out to announce
Nick
that
Khan came out too.
yeah.
Then
Oh,
they
I
showed
missed
him
that part.
afterwards. Yeah, he came out to go check out this lady. But anyway,
Oh,
what's going
good.
on?
Yeah. Well, hey, let's
Yeah.
get no lawsuits. Night two boasted 63,226 people in the building. If everyone had purchased the cheapest seat available, that is just a little over $9 million. And hey, I am just Jewish enough to look up the rental cost of that arena. You want to feign a guess of how much it costs to rent that arena?
It's got to be in the millions.
Not even $1 million.
Not even?
It's $500,000 to rent it per day. So they rented that building for a week to put everything up. So
Like
the total,
that's a football stadium.
yeah. And here's the funny thing: I did some light research. It is way cheaper to rent a football stadium than you think.
Wow.
I mean,
Okay.
of all things considered, I'm not rich, but man, I know now. But yeah, so WWE did pretty well. So congratulations, 63,000 people the first night, 61 something on the first. And there's some great TikToks of what people ate in the stadium. So,
And I'm going to tell you right now, WWE did not pay that rental.
oh
That
God,
was
no.
that was probably in the contract, because they have all these cities bid on these events. They'll go, okay, you know what? We'll give you the stadium. They'll get all
Yeah, I
these
mean
breaks and stuff like
because
that.
they know what the stadium doesn't mean anything. It's the local economy that gets
Right.
literally 120,000 new people, and they're all there for the whole weekend.
And they were
So the
saying
Met,
that they say what 168,000 people went into Las Vegas that week.
yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's some amazingly hilarious TikToks of people walking home after night one.
Okay.
Yeah, just the sea of people. Okay, so there was a match that I missed because my thing hiccuped. This was the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. This would be on Raw, or I guess the tag team floats. So this was um, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Val Valkyria. Valkyria
Lyra Valkyria, yes.
and a
And well,
returning Becky Lynch.
yes, which it was supposed to be Bailey, but then
Oh,
they put in at the last minute that something happened, like Bailey was hurt or whatever.
but she's
And
not. If you're watching
no,
the
she,
back,
she was not hurt. Yeah.
yeah,
And even
that's the other story coming out. Yeah,
Yeah, and even Triple H in the post said, "Okay, folks, don't worry, Bailey's fine. She's going to be okay." Da, 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 da. You could tell it was just a matter of, I'm there going, "Wait a minute, hold on a second. We just saw Becky Lynch with Seth Rollins at the Hall of Fame thing the night before, or the weekend. We know she's in town, and I think this guest." This last minute person. Yep. The moment her music hit, people went nuts, and Becky Lynch came out, and it reminded me years and years ago of a match I remember seeing on WCW when Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard were the tag team champions in WCW, and I forgot who had to get a last minute. Someone, I think, was it Sting or whomever? I don't know who it was going up against somebody. He didn't have a partner who came out, but Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And people went nuts. It was Ricky Steamboat. Holy smokes. No. That's what I thought of. And then, Becky Lynch comes out and they're like, oh, look at this. And they're doing the whole bit. And they managed to get a crowd reaction shot of some young woman who was and she was like in tears. She's crying because Becky Lynch is coming out, and she loves Becky Lynch. And I'm like, oh, okay, no, how do you catch
for
that?
them.
Yeah.
So I guess at the end of this, Becky Lynch and Valkyria defeated Morgan Rodriguez to win those tag belts.
They did, and then they dropped them again the very following night on Raw.
Back to Liv
and Rachel Rodriguez, and then Becky Lynch made her inevitable heel turn. She turned on Lyra Valkyria, and I'm like, yeah, so that makes sense. You can't have Becky be a baby face while her husband's a heel. They're either both bad guys or both good.
Can I just call this now? What I would like to see, please just make a mini stable of Charlotte, Becky, and Bailey. Put them together.
Yeah.
Make them the angry veterans who are mad at the youth and the new girls all coming in, because there's a lot of them now. So it would make sense for them to start taking on what I would call that Triple H Randy Orton kind of role in the division, and
Yes, sir.
just, be the world beaters, be the ones that like you drop to make your opponent look good. And for God's sakes, give Bailey the rub, because like again, she's worked hard, she's done everything. And if you're following the backstage crap, uh Bailey came out on a podcast and basically admitted that while she's disappointed at things like this, she recognizes that in of herself, she is not the type to kick down the door of the bookers and be like, I won't do this.
Hmm.
She'll take whatever you give her and try to make the best of it, because that is who she is. And you can kind of tell in professional wrestling, based on stories like this, you have the people that are hyper protective of their character. And as a booker, you can kind of tell it's like, you know what? I'm never going to convince this guy to do something he doesn't want to do. So fine, go do it. Get out of my hair. Because you know that you've got people like Chad Gable and Bailey and a couple others that'd be like, yes, sir, may I have another?
I will never understand that when it comes to creative too, because as someone who would love to be a part of WWE creative, you have to have a collaboration with the talent. And you hear time and time again. Cody Rhodes talked about that back in his first time around, where he goes, one time, he goes, I was trying to talk to one of the writers, and the writer was on his laptop or whatever, and not even paying attention to him. I'm like, these are the guys that make sure you have a job.
Yeah,
This is
I
the
remember that
talent.
anecdote. It's baffling.
Yeah.
And you know what? The thing is, like, we don't know. Okay, here's the thing. I know somebody, Jonathan Kesselman, who wrote for WWE for a time, and I know that he and I had a conversation to that degree, and he did mention the only way something like that happens is when your boss, when he was there, was John Laurinaitis, gives you an assignment, and they're like, you have to rewrite this entire segment, and it needs to be back to me in 10 minutes. If you go out into the hall and start typing, and a wrestler, whoever it is, comes up to you to start talking about an angle or whatever, and you've got something to give in, you get into this weird space where it's like, if I say something, like if this were just a coworker that came up to me and say, hey, Mark, can I stop you for a second? It's like, I don't have time. I can't do that right now. But that guy is coming up to you. That dude works out every day. He's got
Yeah.
veins on top of veins.
No, this dude
So
can
like,
kick my ass. I'm going to say, yeah, look, Cody, look, I'm really sorry right now, but John gave me this. I need to do this, but let me finish this and I'll get right back to you. We'll talk.
yeah,
You
you'd
know,
hope. And it said you just never know where they're coming from. But yeah, it's exactly that. And I'm just
but,
hopeful. I'm hopeful
but
because the thing,
yeah, but I mean, to the point, like, but see, here's the thing is like when you're that guy who pushes back, like that was the thing with the CM Punk, right? He talked about there were times that he goes, the writers would give him something, he'd look at it, he'd ball it up, throw it back at him, saying, I'm not doing that. And then you get a reputation. When you start pushing back and say, no, I'm not going to do that or whatever. Oh, well, this guy doesn't want to work with others. Blah, blah, blah. And to Bailey's point, I feel really bad because I hate to say this, but that's what happens to women in most industries. It's women in sports,
yes.
They're kind of like, you have to be good. You have to be a team player because if you don't, you get labeled a certain way. They say you're difficult and da da da.
We neither of us would think for a second that Charlotte Flair would take a gimmick or something that she didn't want to do. She definitely strikes me the type to be like, no, I'm not doing this.
But then and she's got that reputation. Right.
And,
Mind you, she also has that reputation with other wrestlers. I mean, for the longest time, her and Becky Lynch,
they've all kind of had it with her.
Yeah.
And then here's the thing, by the way, as the AEW fan here, I'm just gonna tut any of the AEW marks out there that are going, Mark, now's your chance. Say that it's time for Bailey to go, and she'll be. Nope. Bailey needs to stay where she's at. If she moved over to AEW, no offense, because I love her, she wouldn't go anywhere because timeless Tony Storm is timeless Tony Storm.
Yeah.
And they're recognizing with her, by the way, everyone loses because she's that good. So Bailey, stay where you are. And hopefully the damage control thing for a while worked in her favor. I never bought her as a heel. I'll be honest.
I liked her as a heel. I thought she was a ding dong.
I liked it, but it was hard for me to be like, yeah, I get it, but like I want to see her with her other 3 horsewomen until WWE can pay for Mercedes Moné to come back and be Sasha Banks.
Bring them all back
Um,
together.
you know what? It would be the smartest thing, and I'm sure they're all waiting for it. But let's go ahead and spend these last 15 glorious minutes on the big reason why this was supposed to be such a great WrestleMania. Cody Rhodes versus John Cena for the SmackDown World Heavyweight Championship, soon to be known as the retired lineage belt of WWE that will force them to start over should Cena be able to win it. And the story we had going into this, for those not playing at home, is at was it Elimination Chamber?
Elimination Chamber. He
At,
won. He
yeah,
beat CM Punk to be able to challenge Cody Rhodes for the belt. Yes.
right. And then we get the spot, the moment Cody comes out, right, and then The Rock comes out, and it's the whole segment. It's Cody, me, final boss Rock here, and I would like your soul, please hand it over. And Cody gets his big boy britches up, and he pushes his lisp all the way down, and he tells Dwayne no thank you, using two other words.
Mind
And
you, we're on the YouTube now, so it doesn't matter.
he says fuck you.
Yeah. Okay.
And anyway, at that point, Cody turns around to a big welcoming bear hug by Make-A-Wish's superstar John Cena. And during the embrace, The Rock gives this number 2 slitting of the throat motion. John Cena's deadpan acting face activates, and he kicks Cody right in the Stardust and starts his universal heel turn.
What would it be? The meteorites?
I suppose. Did he have names for his fans? All 2 of them? When he was Stardust, no fans.
Yeah.
But yeah, he kicks him in the dingus and goes full heel, to the cheers of the smart marks in the audience going, thank God we finally get it. And
heel John Cena, yeah.
And going into the match in subsequent weeks, Cena comes out, and less of the pomp and circumstance that he normally brings. He continues to strip himself down and tell the fans, I'm done. I'm getting rid of all of it. You don't deserve it anymore. I'm going to take the belt away from Cody, and I'm going to take it away from all of you. And here's their match. They come out. Cena comes out to the stripped down, no frills entrance. It is a black screen with white text. John Cena. And I put in my notes, we don't deserve colors or things. His towel is even mean.
Yeah, I saw it going, okay. And then of course Cody comes out
as Iron Man.
Which is kind of cool. Cool.
It's interesting. I will say Funko spoiled that, and I kind of hate them for it.
Oh, they did a Funko with the same.
It was out for weeks, and I kept getting the ad served to me, and I'm like, I hope that's not what Cody looks like. And I was like, there it is.
Mind you, he had a similar getup in a previous pay-per-view, but it didn't do the cool faceplate thing going up, which was
subsequently badass. I did also think it was very kind of him to wear velvet pants, so that every time Cena would slam him, he has a nice soft cushion on his hand. Very nice. Cody kissed his child, hugs his mom. John Cena stands in the ring and whispers silently, "Children breed weakness." Anyway, they have their match, and by the way, for the longest time, I was loving this match. Cena played up. You already know. You know the bits. And at first they told a really good story. Cena could not get over on Rhodes. He kept getting stopped at the gate. And every time we would get that little Cena magic, he would slow himself down. Like, we got 2 out of 5 moves of Doom because he purposefully slowed them down to almost a ridiculous point. Mm-hmm. And they keep going back and forth. And we finally get to we're going through the hope spots. We're going through the back and forth. There are so many attitude adjustments and Cody cutters and crossroadses that we get to that point in the match where we know, okay, neither of them are going to beat the other one with the normal set of moves. So this is the time to finish the story, tell us where Rock's whole thing comes through, and who comes out.
Travis Scott,
the rapper,
yes.
and he comes out walking slower somehow than the Undertaker.
Well, he was milking it. He was milking it.
Holding a replica hardcore title.
Yeah.
One that has been
it looks like a universal belt. Like, they took a universal title belt and broke it and put the tape over it. Yeah.
Very weird. And anyway, he comes into the ring, almost immediately gets crossroadsed, and that plus a ref bump leads to Cena getting the dirty pin and win after a headshot with the belt that the ref doesn't see. 1, 2, 3. That's it. No Rock. That's it. He wins. Arm up. And thank you very much. Good night.
And oh my God, did the
world
internet
shut down?
The world, I mean, it was over. It was the worst WrestleMania ever. It was, why wasn't The Rock there? They did all this stuff to build it up. Why didn't it? All the fantasy bookers, all the folks who were writing the end of the match because it wasn't exactly what they wanted because The Rock didn't come out. And then The Rock, the very next day on Pat McAfee, explained why he wasn't there.
Which, by the way, was the worst excuse I've ever heard.
And I'm sure there was probably some other stuff going on that they, to me, it was like, I think, and this is just supposition. This is just me, pulling stuff out of the air, not really knowing. But it's like at some point, I think either Cena or Cody went, you know what? We don't need The Rock here. We don't need to do this whole thing. I mean, and then he was like, you know what? I'm just going to step back. We don't need it right now. We're going to go from there and whatever, because it wasn't like he couldn't be there. So, but even to that point, whether he should have been there or not been there or whatever, the histrionics, the utter meltdown that the internet fans were having, that there's like, oh my God, now this is the worst WrestleMania ever because The Rock wasn't there to interfere in the match and not give us whatever payoff to the whole final boss, Cody Rhodes soul bit. I'm not going, you just saw history. 17 titles. No one, years from now, no one's going to talk about the fact that The Rock wasn't at WrestleMania. No one's going to talk about it. Just like no one ever talks about all the effed up endings when Roman Reigns was winning his championships, all his title defenses over how many years.
When you look at when you look at the 1,000-day streak or whatever, I'll take you on that note. I'm going to say this much though. It didn't ruin WrestleMania. We'll get into that in a sec, but it did lessen the outcome of the match for me because we didn't complete the story with enough bombacity. And I understand like part of that is because of what Cena is trying to do. And I love that anti-humor, whatever you want to call it, doing this and ending a pay-per-view on a downbeat. By the way, as a fan of former like old school WCW, we're talking pre-NWO days, I'm used to dour endings. I grew up watching the Ric Flairs and the baddest of the bads winning by any means necessary and walking out with the title and getting a parade of boos. You gotta think from the WWE's perspective, there is a difference between heel heat and go home heat and go away heat. I'd say that they kind of screwed the pooch a bit by not having Rock, by not actually, you don't get to set that up. You don't get to do the final boss throat cutting thing, and I want your soul, and not actually cover it and doing this whole, like, I thought that he could just handle it alone. This is his story. Let him do it. And Travis Scott is great. And we're just going to let them run it. That to me, there's something not being said here. There's somebody lost a script page somewhere and they'll pick up the book. I don't have any, they'll figure a way out of this because Cody will have to come out and they'll have to do this. And of course, we now have Cena setting the table, which is what I'm more excited about, is he came out and he made it very clear. He comes up and he shows, what was it, 36, and he goes, "This is how many dates I agreed to. By the way, that's not matches. That's appearances."
Yep.
And you have already blown through, and then counts down all the appearances that he's done up to WrestleMania. There's 27 appearances left, and he's like, "I could just come up here and talk about the belt. I didn't say I'm going to wrestle anybody, but I'm telling you all now that if I am still holding on to this thing, when that number goes to 0, I'm taking it home, and you can start over." Like this belt, and all the lineage that's attached to it. And if you go to WWE.com, you can see all the belt. This is the winged eagle. This is the WWE Heavyweight Championship going all the way back to Bruno Sammartino. And he's saying, if I hold it, I'm going home with it, and you can start the record books over. Create a new title.
And I say do it. I say...
Oh, I'm all here for it.
Yeah, I don't see... I think wrestling fans put way too much into the whole lineage thing, this is what it goes back to. I mean, again, the lineage bit has been as convoluted and as freaking broken and sewn together. Like, I mean, technically, the heavyweight championship, which was formerly the WCW championship, which was the NWA championship. The NWA championship's still out there. There is an NWA out there. It exists.
Shout out to Billy Corgan.
Yeah. So I think I'm all for it. When John Cena says, "You know what, I'm ruining wrestling," I say do it. Retire it. I say get them, because that's what a heel does. It gets people pissed off, and he's going all the levels. He's going down all the levels. He's not only irritating you as a heel, as a wrestler, and doing all the things that he does, but he's even taking it down. Now he's going to do the one thing that drives fans nuts, that drives them, makes them crazier than anything else. He's messing with the canon. My God. He's ruining the canon. What is he doing to the canon? Won't anybody do something?
You know what? And that's just it. I'm just doing a quick fact check. Okay, well, here you go. This is my eminent prediction then. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I hope he absolutely brings that title home, and I hope that John Cena, the character, takes that belt all the way home. And that's the end of it. And that is the end of the John Cena character, which, by the way, can I point out, if you followed that man's 20-year career, you will remember he started out as an amazing heel.
The doctor of thugonomics.
And he did that until he got so over that he had to change to Fruity Pebbles John, because he recognized that being yet another smarmy anti-hero was not what the wrestling world needed. He needed to bring the PG era back, and he did it on his back. The man is a legend for many reasons, this being that. But here's the silver lining to all of this, to all the fans of the Torn Quadcast who are crying right now, going, but John Cena will never be a good guy again. Yes, he will, because John Cena is not yet in the Hall of Fame.
He even said on not Pat McAfee, where he did an interview, might have been McAfee, where he goes, when this is all over, because McAfee was asking him all these questions about stuff. He goes, well, I'm not going to say this because I don't want to spoil what's going to happen on Raw next. I'm going to spoil what's on SmackDown next. He goes, but when this is all over, and when I finally hang him up, and I can come back as myself, I will answer all the questions about all those things. So yes, and of course he will always be Peacemaker.
Yes, and it's like his acting career. And I mean, the thing is, I'm sure I have loved all the poor angry children throwing their toys and whatnot because John Cena did what he did, but it creates interest where WWE isn't doing it. So I want to kind of end here on like overall show thought, because I left night 2 WrestleMania, and this is not because of the John Cena no Rock thing. This is because of the overall 6 hours of content that I absorbed. I gleefully, with a smile on my face, glided my cursor to my account on Peacock and voraciously clicked cancel my account. And to be fair, I paid $8. I more than got my money's worth, and I have the rest of the month to enjoy some Office reruns. But here's the thing. WWE, this is my last note to myself. WWE is king of homogenized sports entertainment trademark. Styles are diluted down to 5 memorable spots if you're lucky. Storylines are either years long or not at all. Too many belts, too many sponsors, ads, and crap. I recognize this is how many that want their wrestling, and if they dug this, I am truly happy for them. This show made concrete in me what I like and what I don't necessarily vibe with. I don't mind catching Mania. I'll probably pay $8 again next year and watch it. But it's the kind of thing where I'm like, yeah, you know what? Overall, I understand WWE to be as big as they are. This is the sacrifice. And I said the best metaphor I can make for this is it's trying to argue against somebody telling you that oh my god, what is the big artsy fartsy foodie restaurant in Chicago? Alinea. It is arguing that Alinea makes better food than McDonald's. When I say I like AEW more than WWE, who cares? McDonald's makes billions of dollars a day selling absolute trash, and it's delicious. Alinea makes wonderful plates of effervescent food that costs a lot of money and you can only have it once. That is the difference here, and that's what's great about pro wrestling is you can have both. All I'm saying is if you liked Wrestlemania, it's a great happy meal.
And if AEW wants me to watch their pay-per-views, they need to put it on a platform that I can catch it on. I mean, you know.
Yes. Well, they need to change the model. I think WWE, they made it right. You got to just go on a streaming platform and cut the cost, because I'm an AEW fan. Elliot, I've never purchased an AEW pay-per-view in my life. I won't.
How much do they charge for the pay-per-views on average?
Probably $60.
Is it? I thought it was like 40, but still,
whatever it is, it's too much money. I am to that point where I just want to pay a monthly fee. Like, they're on Max, in my opinion. That means Max should get the pay-per-view.
Yeah, and then you only get the one show on Max. You only get Dynamite, and
right.
And I have yet to see MJF wrestle. So again, Tony Khan. I don't know what I do not. I have no idea what Tony Khan is trying to do. As someone who is a wrestling fan, I want to give the product a chance. Even when I tune in, I still don't get a Tony Storm fix either. You know,
I mean, put it this way: Tony Storm is smart, same as MJF is smart. They are protected and they choose their television time wisely, and it's rarely a fight.
Which is great, but if
you're trying to get into it,
if you're trying to get new people into it, if you're trying to get me, and don't get me wrong, with WWE, the fact that it is on Peacock and Netflix and it's reasonably affordable, I'll watch it. To your point. It's easy to go to McDonald's to get a Big Mac. Sometimes you can't get into Alinea, and I don't have $40 for their burger.
Exactly.
You know? So,
and that's why to me there isn't a comparison, because inevitably that's what it comes down to. Everyone in wrestling is very territorial, and they want it to be a this versus that thing. Like Rusev, by the way, came out on Raw. He's back to the original world-beating character. God bless. I hope he does. I love Rusev as a guy. And you know what? I'm here to painfully admit that AEW dropped the ball on that guy, but they did too with Ricky Saints, who is over like Rover in NXT. They lost Penta. They lost Ray Fenix. Not the end of them, but like keeping it back to the main event here. WrestleMania, by and large, it was good, but not great. And that was my problem overall, is that too many botched spots, too many blown calls. Like some of the entrances were cool, but will they hold up in a year? I'm not really sure. It's just one of the things, like, I can't name for you more than a handful, and I'm talking 5 or less wrestling spots in this show that made me go, man, I love what WWE's doing. And I mean, and said that's not their point. Their point is making a million bajillion dollars and filling stadiums and looking like the world beaters that they are. So, you know,
I mean, that's really in the end for folks who, I mean, if you know wrestling, and the reason you're called a mark is because when you walk into the carnival, they know they can get your money. They mark you for it. So
yes.
that's what it's about, making the money. And then, yes, it's the art form as well. The wrestlers do it because they want to be able to tell a story and exhibit their art. But yeah, you're right. It's I would say WWE's it's going from, we've had this conversation before. It's going from McDonald's to maybe more like Five Guys, because
All the
even
fries in the bag.
all the fries in the bag, and I'm sorry, WWE is starting to get a little expensive too. You know, it's I for the life of me don't think I can go. I've been to Raws. I've been to pay-per-views. I was at the pay-per-view. Was it Over the Edge? I forgot what it was. When John Cena fought Brock Lesnar in the main event, and it was like the squash match where Brock Lesnar just beat the crap out of him, and no one saw that coming. But mind you, in the middle of the card was CM Punk defending the WWE title. You know, he was champion at the time. It wasn't main event though, you know, but he still won. So because it was in Chicago. So I've been to that. I've been to a lot of it, and I think for the life of me, I don't think I will ever be able to go to a live event.
Well, and that's, I mean, yeah, put it this way. Let's say the Bears get that magical dome that they want.
Out in Arlington Heights, yeah.
Sure. Now let's say that WrestleMania comes there, and for some miraculous reason, pricing doesn't change by that point. Would you purchase $143 nosebleed seat for one night of WrestleMania?
No.
Yeah, I mean,
Not
it's like
again, but I'm going to be watching it on the Jumbotron anyway. It's like I won't pay that much money to go to a Bears game. I'm not going to go to an NFL game. I've seen the Bears play how many times? I've been at Soldier Field. I've been on the road, and I'm like, and I did the same thing. I was watching the television, because if you don't see it in front of you, like stuff happens in football where if you miss it, you got to look at the replay. So it's like wrestling and football, a lot of these sports, they're made for watching on television. You just don't get, it's not worth it what you get being there.
It's, yeah, what you're buying there is less the event, it's more the vibes. You're going there to be with fans, to cheer and to boo. And yeah, I mean, it's funny, I have not been to as many events as you have, but I do gleefully recall I got to see two Bulls games. One at the original Chicago Stadium, where my father and I were in the second to worst seats in the house, and they were still good seats.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I've sat up there, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then then in the 2 years where Jordan wasn't here, I went to the United Center. And what I came away from those games with, honestly, was I was so enamored by all the stuff that happened when basketball wasn't happening.
Yes, right.
You know, because they have like T-shirt cannons and the Bulls and the cheerleaders and the like little commercials and stuff. And I was like, man, like you get why it's so intoxicating, why fans go to do these things. I've only been to a SmackDown taping in Indianapolis when I was in college. And honestly, the only thing I remember is I was as far away from the entrance as you could get in a still decent seat. And when Booker T's pyro hit, I could feel the waves of fire.
Oh, wow.
And all I can remember is like thinking is, how the hell do these guys go out there with that literally next to them if I'm feeling a wave of heat literally as far away as you can get in the stadium?
Oh, yeah. Like, they've complained about that kind of stuff.
I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
But, well, that's the thing. And luckily for this show, no one got burned by any pyro, because all of the pyro happened above their 3-story set, where every time they had to fire it, they had to quickly tell the director to pull the camera back. We spent $8,000 on those sparklers, and no one can see them but the people in the stadium.
I was like that, and I will say that's the one thing I do miss about the Vince McMahon era. They framed it better when they did the pyro and they had the wrestlers positioned properly, you know,
Well, they used to have like sets, and now it's more or less a collection of screens.
Yeah.
And some gimmick. So this year it was the bifurcated LED doors, which sometimes were super cool, and sometimes Gunther walked into them afterwards when the belt graphic came up after he had already left. So either way, hey, we got through it.
I think so. And this has been a good one. Well, you know what? I think we're gonna make this a thing from now on. We'll do half on the air and half the bonus content on the YouTube page, so that way we don't have to cut ourselves off. So that was our review of
WrestleMania 41.
I mean, Mark reviewed the matches. I reviewed the fans, and Mark
Thumbs
says
down for both.
I'm like, fandom folks, we got to do better. I swear, the grown men having meltdowns about this sort of thing. Seriously, I want to say, folks, it's entertainment, okay? If it doesn't entertain you, don't watch it. If it kind of entertained you, enjoy it for what it is. But I'm going to say it again. 17 championships. We're never going to, years from now, no one's going to talk about The Rock not showing up at WrestleMania. No one's going to care. They're not going to care then. Why do you care now? It's my thing. All right. Until next time, this has been Mark Allen Fishman and Elliott Serrano on the Torn Quadcast. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, for listening, for sticking with us. Next week, we'll be back to our regular talk about everything. We'll get caught up on what's happening on Raw, on SmackDown, AEW. There's a lot of other things going on in entertainment, and I do believe we're going to have some stuff going on with Marvel movies. I know
Thunderbolts drops real soon.
Thunderbolts, a lot of good buzz going around about Thunderbolts, so we'll probably be talking about that. All right, folks. Good night, everyone.